Hello friends, how are you? I hope all of you are doing really good. So welcome to Economics or Finance Excellency batch. All those who are new to the channel, please do not forget to subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon so that whenever we are uploading a video, you get all the notifications on the first time. Okay, so what we have been discussing about? We have been discussing about the market failure. In the last lecture, we started with this chapter of market failure. And we discussed that what is a market failure, that when the demand is not equal to supply, there is inefficient allocation of resources, and we say without government intervention there will be a market failure. Otherwise we say that these forces of demand and supply automatically adjust, leading to the efficient allocation of resources, but in reality it does not happen. There must be some government intervention for this particular correction. Then we started with this topic, that what are the various reasons for this. What are the various reasons for the market failure? The one reason that we have studied is the market power, that is the monopoly. If the created, that will lead to the market failure. How it can lead to the market failure, we have discussed about it. Then this was the part that we were discussing about, that is the externalities. Externality is the action of one person, either the producer or the consumer, has an impact on the other person. It may be in the form of cost or it may be in the form of benefit. Sir, how it can be cost, how it can be benefit? In this particular video, we are going to discuss about that. Okay. So externalities, we started in the last lecture, that when the action of either the consumer or the producer result in cost or benefit that do not reflect as a part of market price, that means these externalities are not considered in the market price, right? Whatever the price the producers are charging, that does not include this, these externalities are not included in that. Clear? So an externality occurs when a consumption or a production activity has an indirect effect on the other's consumption or production, and such effects are not reflected directly in the market price. So features we have discussed. Now very important part, that is the types of externalities. Now this is very important. This is very important. The types of externalities. The first is the unilateral externality. It occurs when the originator, that means the creator of the externality, who is imposing the externality, imposes the cost or benefits on the recipient, but there is no externality imposed back by the recipient on the originator. So it is a one-way traffic basically. The one is imposing the externality on the other, right? That may be in the form of cost or maybe in the form of benefit, right? But the recipient of that externality is not imposing anything back on the originator. For example, a factory causing too much noise, disturbing the people living around. Now it is an externality being done by the factory on the people living around, right? This is one-way externality imposed by the factory, that is the originator, on the people living around, that is the recipient. Now, is this thing considered while fixing the market price of the product of that factory? No, sir. Right? But that is a cost being incurred by the people who are getting disturbed by it. Some might get hearing problems and all those things, right? So that is a cost which is outside the market mechanism. So this is a unilateral externality. Then we are moving on to the reciprocal externalities. What are the reciprocal externalities? It occurs when two people impose the externalities, that is the cost or benefits, on one another. So originator on the recipient, recipient back on the originator. This is a two-way traffic that is going on. Example, the students in a class making the noise and disturbing the class. So this is one form of externality, right? The originator is the students who are creating the noise and disturbing the class, and in return, that means they are getting something in return. The originator, initially they are the originator, right? And who is the recipient? The whole class plus the teacher is the recipient. Now what they will get in return? In return, the teacher scolding the students for the disturbance. Now the teacher who was the recipient, earlier the teacher was the recipient when the students were making the noise. Right? Now the teacher is imposing the externality on the students. They become, this is originator. Right? Now in the second case, this teacher becomes originator and student becomes the recipient. Clear? This is a two-way externality, that when one is imposing the externality on the other and the other is imposing the externality on the originator. Then we are moving on to the very important topic of this, very important topic from the examination point of view, from the theoretical point of view also, positive and negative externalities. Right? So this is the flow diagram, that how we are going to study about it, how it is being done. So we are dividing it into two parts. One is the positive externality. What is a positive externality? Positive externality is the benefit basically. Right? When we say positive externality, it is the benefit, and when we are saying negative externality, it means it is the cost that has to be borne by some people. Now, the positive externality is further divided into positive production externality and the positive consumption externality. Now, what is positive production externality? That means the action, the originator is in the production process, that is by the firms or anyone else who is in the production process, right? And when we are talking about the positive consumption externality, that means the originator is the recipient, basically the consumer. The consumer is the originator of the externality here, right? Now, again, further we say about these two, we may further say that if you talk about the positive production externality, it can be originator is the production here. This is the originator. Now, who is the recipient? He says it can be received in the production only, within the firm or within the production firms, or this can be received in the consumption also, that whatever the externality is being imposed, the benefit is being imposed, the originator is in the production process, right? Any production firm it can be. And the recipient is also a production firm that is received in production, or the recipient is the consumer which goes into the consumption. Clear? Again, he says the positive consumption externality. The originator is the consumer. Originator is the one who is consuming the resources, right? And the recipient can be in the production, or the recipient can be in the consumption. We will discuss all this with the help of examples. Okay. Similarly, for the negative externality, we can say the negative production externality. That is, what is a production externality? That which is the originator is in the production, and here the originator is in the consumption. Again, these externalities may be received in production or received in consumption. Sir, let's take it one by one and try to understand with the help of an example. But before that, one thing we have to study, that what is a private cost and the social cost. What is the private cost? Because that is going to be used in here. That is why I'll take it first. It is the cost incurred and recognized by the producer or consumer directly involved in a transaction. So that means the private cost is the cost which is being considered, which is being included in the market price of the product. For example, the firm's private cost comprises of the direct cost of production, material, labor, overheads. It does not include the negative externalities like the pollution cost by the manufacturing. So any cost which is being comprised into the market price of the product, right? Which the firms are considering into the market price of the product. And all of you must have studied cost accounting. How do we identify the cost? Remember the cost sheet chapter? We say material, labor and expenses. All the direct expenses, prime cost, and the rest are your overhead. So that is what he's saying. He says the private cost is the cost which is being considered by the firms in the manufacturing of a product and which is reflected in the market price of that product, right? But any cost which is not being included in the market price of the product, like the pollution cost, is it being, the factory is creating the pollution in the manufacturing process, is it being included in the market price of the product? No, sir, right? So what is this pollution cost? The second terminology is the social cost. What is the social cost? It is the total cost to the society on account of production or the consumption activity. Now, what do you mean by total cost? Total cost here means the private cost. Private cost. That means when I am buying a product, I will pay for the product, right? That includes the private cost, the material cost, the labor cost, the overhead cost that is included in that particular product. But at the same time, there is some hidden cost. At the same time, there will be some hidden cost in that. Hidden cost is what? Hidden cost that is not clearly visible and not considered by any business. What can be it? The pollution cost is there, right? The health hazard cost is there. Social cost is equal to private cost borne by the person directly involved in a transaction plus the external cost borne by the third party is not directly involved in the transaction. Example, a firm polluting a nearby river through its manufacturing waste, creating a health hazard to the people dependent upon that river water. The cost of this health hazard is a social cost which is ignored by any business, right? Which is not considered in the market price. This is known as social cost, that which is the external cost being borne by some people due to some business activity. Clear? So this is the difference between the private cost and a social cost. Private cost is what? Private cost is the one which is borne, which is included in the market price, like the material, labor, overheads. And what is a social cost? Which is not considered by any business, but it is being borne by some people. Those people may be the third party people not involved in the direct transaction with the business, right? But they are bearing the cost of that business. Oh, right? So now we will move on to the externalities. The first externality that we are going to do in this is the positive production externality. Now, what is this positive production externality? The positive externality occurs when the action of one party confers the benefits on the another party. So we say that why this positive word has been used, because that depicts the benefit being given by the action of the one party to another party, right? Here we are not saying the cost. That is why I wrote here that whenever we are talking about the positive externality, that means it is the benefit being given by one party to the another. The action of one party results in the benefit to another party. So positive production externality occurs when the social cost is less than the private cost. Sir, obviously benefit, if you are giving benefit, what is social cost? The social cost is the cost being incurred when there is when the business, we just discussed about the social cost. What this is cost? That when there is a business who is polluting a nearby river, right? Now if the firm, now this is not a benefit, this is a cost. We say in the positive externalities, we say that we are giving the benefits. That means the social cost will be less than the private cost. Private cost is material, labor, overhead, all those costs will be there, but the social cost will not be that much there, because the firm is quite aware of that social cost and the firm keeps its social cost to the minimum. They might be having the good waste management plants inside, right? That is a benefit to the whole society, that they don't have to incur the social cost. So the social cost will be less than the private cost. Obviously, sir, if there is any benefit, that will reduce the cost. Simple as that. And if the externality is having the benefit on the other person, that means which cost will be reduced? The social cost will be reduced, but because the externality, we say that it functions outside the mechanism. Outside the mechanism means that beyond this private cost. So what will change? Basically, the social cost will change, right? So it is initiated in the production. So originator is what? The firms, the production units, but may be received in production or consumption. How? Let's see with the help of example. We say one thing is clear, it is being initiated by the production. That means the action is being initiated by whom? The producer, the firms. They are the originator of these actions, or anyone who is into the manufacturing process. Even if a farmer is growing the vegetables in his village, right? He is what? He is into the production. Anyone who is making some goods, anyone who is making something, right? So if this originator is the producer, now received in the production itself, how? Example, the firm training its employees for increasing their skills and generates the positive benefits for the other firms when they hire such workers as they change their jobs. For example, there is A Limited. Right? This is what? This is a producer. Now they give very good training to employees, gave training to employees, right? Now what will happen? This is a positive externality. This is a positive benefit, sir. Training. Now when these employees leave this firm, they leave A Limited, they go to C Limited, right? Now who is the beneficiary of these externality? The beneficiary is the C Limited. He is again a producer, right? Who is the beneficiary of it? The beneficiary is the C Limited, who is again a producer. The action originator, who was the originator? The producer was the originator. Who is the recipient of that externality? Externality means the action. The action is giving the training to the employees. This is the action. And who is taking the benefit of that action? So this C Limited, who is again a producer, he is taking the benefit of that. This is what we say, that initiated in production, received in production, right? Now if we say initiated in production and received in consumption, that is by the consumer. An individual raises the garden in his land. Now this garden, who is maintaining the garden, who is raising the garden, who is that person is a producer, isn't it? So initiated in the producer, what is the action? That he is maintaining the garden, he is raising the garden beautifully, and the persons walking nearby enjoy the view of that garden. Who is the recipient? So general public is the recipient, right? General public is the recipient in this case. So originator is what? Originator is the production. Origination is in production. That is one who is maintaining the garden, who is planting the beautiful flowers there, who is maintaining that garden. That is a producer. He or she is a producer. But the benefit of that particular action, what is the action? Maintaining the garden, that is an externality. It is not being included in the market price. Are you going to charge for that? No, sir. Right? And the people going through the passing thereby, they are looking at the garden and they are, really fascinated by it. So who is the receiver of that externality? It is a benefit. Obviously, the people look at those beautiful flowers, they are happy, and when they are happy, their health is good, isn't it? We say that we should stay happy. So who is the recipient here? The consumer is the recipient here. That is why we say that it is received in consumption. Clear? Next part is the positive consumption externality. What is positive consumption externality? The positive consumption externality occurs when the social benefit is more than the private benefit, right? Social benefit is more than the private benefit. Okay. That as a society we are getting more benefits being generated than the private benefit, means the profits that will be earned by the firms. The social benefit as a total society on the whole, the benefits are more than the profits that the firms will be earning. Clear, sir? Okay. So it is initiated in the consumption. It is initiated in the consumption, but may be received in production or in consumption. Now, initiated by the consumer, received either in the production or in the consumption. Okay. Now, example, received in production. Initiated is by the consumption itself, right? But received in production. How? The usage of services of a health club by the employees of the firm. Right? Now the employees are what? They are the consumers. What is the activity? Using the health club. Right? Now what will happen? Creates the external benefit of the firm by increased efficiency and the productivity of the employees. Now who is getting the benefit of that? The firm, the producing firm is getting the benefit. How, sir? The employees, they are using the health club, they will stay fit, their efficiency will increase in the work, and who will be benefited? The firm will be benefited, right? So where the action is initiated, the action is initiated by the consumer, right? What is the action? The usage of this health club. The health club is there, they might not be using it, right? So, but the employees decided to use it, that is, the action is initiated by the consumer. Right? What is the action? The usage of the health club is the action. And who is the beneficiary? The beneficiary is the firm who will get the benefit in the terms of increased efficiency. Right? Now, the second part is received in the consumption itself. Originator in the consumption, received in the consumption. That is, received in consumption. People get immunized against the contagious diseases, confer a social benefit to the others also by preventing the others from getting infected. Let's say the coronavirus vaccine. I go to the center, take the vaccine. Now, what I am doing, I am the consumer. I am not a manufacturing firm, right? I'm not manufacturing anything. As a consumer, I go to the hospital, take the vaccine. Now, what I am doing, I am giving the benefit to the society, to another consumer. I'm not giving any benefit to the firms. I am a consumer. I'm not manufacturing anything, right? I go to the hospital, take the COVID vaccine. Now, what I'm giving is I'm giving the society a benefit that I will not be spreading the virus, right? I am vaccinated against that. I'm stopping the spread of that virus. That is what, again, I'm giving the benefit to whom? Another consumer, another friend of mine, the whole society I'm giving the benefit. So, initiated in the consumption. I am the consumer. I am the consumer of that vaccine. And the benefit of that is received in the consumption itself, because the people around me, my family, my friends, everyone is getting secured that in case I come in contact with a COVID patient, I will not be infected and I will not be spreading that infection. Right? So that is what is received in consumption. Clear? I hope this much is clear. The next is the fifth part. The fifth is, now we are moving on to the negative production externality. That means the cost. Negative means the cost. Negative externality occurs when the action of one party imposes the cost or the negative impacts on another party. Negative production externality occurs when the social cost is more than the private cost. Right? The cost that the society has to bear is more than what is actually the cost that is incurred in the making of that product. Right? So it is initiated in production, but may be received in production or in consumption. It is initiated in the production process. It is initiated by the producer, but may be received in the production itself or may be received in the consumption. So example, received in production, a leather factory discharges the waste into a nearby river, thereby polluting it. Now this is what? This leather factory is what? This is a producer, right? Discharging the waste into a nearby river. This is what? This is the action. This is the externality. And this will have a cost. Pollution. Pollution is what? This is the cost. Now we say received in production. Who is the recipient of that externality? We say the fishermen are affected as a result by the reduced fish output. Now fisherman is what? He is also a producer, right? He is also into the business of extracting the fish. Now he says if the pollution is there, the fish output will be reduced, affecting the another producer who is the fisherman, right? Initiated in the production, received in the production. Now received in consumption. The same leather factory is discharging the waste into a nearby river, thereby polluting it, and the health hazards are caused to the users of the near water. Now some people are living by that riverside, and they use that river water for washing clothes, for consumption. Poor people can be there, right? So if the leather factory is discharging the waste, this leather factory is what? The producer of the externality. Externality is what? The action. Action is what? Discharging the waste into that river and polluting it. Now who is getting who is bearing the cost of it? The consumer. The final people who are consuming that water, those are being affected and they are bearing the cost of it in the form of health hazards. So initiated in production, received in consumption, right? The next and the last is the negative consumption externality. What is a negative consumption externality? The negative consumption externality occurs when the social benefit is less than the private benefit. Right? Social benefit is much less than the private benefit. Private benefit is profit. Social benefit is the benefit to the society at the large. So he says the social benefit is less than the private benefit. Let's see with the help of example now. It is initiated in the consumption, but may be received in the production or consumption. Now, if it is initiated in the consumption, received in production, how? Excessive consumption of alcohol, thereby reducing the efficiency in work and causing the mishaps at the workplace. There is an employee working in the factory, right? That employee is what? He is a consumer, right? He consumes a lot of alcohol, right? And the next day, after the consumption of alcohol, he is coming back to the office. Will he be working efficiently? No, sir. Right? So who is the originator of that externality? The consumer. Consumer means the worker of that factory, right? He is not manufacturing anything. He is the consumer, sir, right? He is having the alcohol. That is a cost. That is an externality. Reducing the efficiency in the work and causing the mishaps at workplace. Who is getting affected by this externality? The firm, the producer for whom he is working. He or she, the firm, is getting affected by this consumption of alcohol. So initiated in the consumption, right? Received in production. Next, initiated in consumption and received in consumption. Smoking cigarette in a public place causing the passive smoking by others and related health hazards. Right? So there was a person who is not a producer, he is just a consumer, he is working for some factory, and while going back home, he is standing at the bus stand and he is smoking the cigarettes there. Now what will happen? It will impact the other people around standing him. Right? Are they the producers? No, sir. They are also the consumers. Isn't it? So initiated in consumption and received in consumption. That person is sitting in the office and smoking the cigarette. Everyone in the office who is working around him, right, they get affected by it, isn't it? Causes the passive smoking. Passive smoking means that those persons, they do not want to smoke, but indirectly the negative impacts of the smoke being generated by that cigarette, they are going into that, isn't it? So received in consumption. Clear? So these are very important topics. These externalities are very important. All these externalities should be very clear. Go through it two times, three times. Absolutely clear, right? All the examples I have given in the books, so it should not be a problem. And the theory question can be asked from on any externality. The theory question can be asked on the private cost versus social cost. These kind of theory questions are asked in the examination for 2 to 3 marks. Okay. Now there is one topic, that what is the impact of externalities on the market failure. Let's see. Now this is the diagram. He says if only the private costs are considered by the producers, if they are not considering the social cost. Now what is that? This is the private benefit, right? This is the private benefit and this is the marginal private cost. Now the firms will be producing this where your marginal benefit and the marginal cost intersects. Because the firm says at least we should be recovering our cost. Marginal private benefit means the profit that they are earning, where the profit and cost line intersects. This is the quantity that they will be manufacturing. Now what will happen, sir, if the social cost is added? If there is social cost, what is social cost? Sir, this cost line, this private cost line, this will move here, right? Private cost plus the hidden cost. This is what? This is the hidden cost. Hidden cost. Right? Now this total cost will increase. Now if the total cost will increase, these profits will obviously come down. The profits will reduce to this level. This is the profit level now. Right? So what will happen? Manufacturers will manufacture less quantity, that is Q0 to Q1, right? This is the quantity being manufactured if we add the social cost, but because it is being ignored, so there is overproduction leading to market failure, right? Because the social cost is normally being ignored, it is not being included in the market price of the product. Now if the social cost is being ignored, there is overproduction, and this social cost leads to the loss of social welfare. This is the loss of social welfare, the highlighted part. This is the social cost being borne by the society, not being considered by the producers. So this is what is written here. If only the private costs are considered by the producers, there will be overproduction of goods and services. But if the social cost, that is the private cost plus the external cost, are considered by the way of government intervention, the production of goods and services will be at optimum level at Q1 level. But actually he says this is the optimum level. This is what should be produced if you consider the private as well as the external cost, right? The shaded area represents the region of deadweight welfare loss, that is the loss of consumer welfare. The above excess production, unnecessary social cost welfare loss arises because, now why is this the loss of social welfare that arises? because the society does not know precisely who the producers of the harmful externalities are. That is the imperfect information. That is absolutely correct, sir. Right? The people living by the riverside, they say the river water is polluted, and there are 100 firms who are throwing the wastage into that river. Can they identify that which firm is giving the highest externality? That is not possible, right? And even if the society knows it, the cause effect linkages are so unclear that the negative externality cannot be properly traced back to its producers. Obviously, even if they know that there is one firm only, but how much of the wastage is being done into the river, how much is the pollution being created into the river, that is very much difficult to identify. That is why he says the society suffers, but the society does not know that how they are suffering, right? And what is the exact quantity of the externality that is being imposed. Clear? In the practical world, the external cost cannot be specifically quantified in the manner depicted above. So these externalities cannot be quantified, that if we are able to quantify it, that this is the particular quantity that they are throwing into the river, because of which this is the social cost they are incurring. So that can be, recovered from the producers, but in the real world that is not possible at all. Clear? So with this, we are done with the externality part. We are done with the externality part which we wanted to discuss. Everything, this particular lecture is very important, guys. The next topic will be the third reason, that is the public goods, that we will be discussing in the next lecture, right? So guys, please do share with all your friends. I've seen that not many people are watching these lectures, which is really bad, because then what is the purpose of providing it free of cost on YouTube, right? That doesn't make sense. Wasting my time, creating an opportunity cost for me, that doesn't make the sense, right? If you people are not going to help, help us in this initiative, then there is no fun of providing these lectures, right? Then it's better I should have provided that at a nominal cost, right? So please do help us in this initiative to grow and create the awareness among the students that these lectures are really helpful for May 23 and November 23. And if the old course continues in the May 24, November 24, these lectures will continue to be applicable for those attempts also, right? So we will continue with this chapter in the next lecture. See you guys in the next lecture. Till then, stay safe, stay healthy, keep studying, keep sharing. Thank you so much.